Let's head up to the top end now, and a man who knows it better than anyone else, Matt Cunningham, the Sky News Bureau Chief. Matt, it sort of escaped the attention of the rest of the country, I think. You got the writs issued for the election tomorrow. Polling day only 3 weeks away. What's going to happen?
Well, I wish I could tell you, Chris. I think it's going to be wild, the Northern Territory election. I think there's probably only one party that can win an outright majority, and that's the ruling Labor Party. But I think there's a good chance that they could lose that majority come August 22 when Territorians go to the polls. That's a pretty remarkable prospect, considering they came to power 4 years ago, winning 18 of the 25 seats in the Northern Territory Parliament and reducing the Country Liberal Party to just 2 seats. But I think that's a real prospect in 2.5 weeks when Territorians go to the polls. Labor holds 16 seats. They lost a couple of people along the way. There are 5 seats, though, Chris, at least 5 seats that I think they're a real chance of losing at the upcoming Territory election. 5 seats that Labor have only ever won in a landslide. So it's going to be a really interesting contest when Territorians do go to the polls in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, so you've got the traditional CLP opposition, but you've got the Territory Alliance led by Terry Mills, the former CLP Chief Minister. Is it the combination of those two as a coalition that is a threat to Labor?
Well, that's a question that's still to be decided, and another question still to be decided is the preference issue and whether the Country Liberal Party and Territory Alliance are going to do a preference deal, or whether indeed the CLP could do a preference deal with Labor, which is something that has been touted as recently as today by the former CLP Deputy Chief Minister David Tolney. In fact, that's what happened at the Johnston by-election, which was held just 5 months ago. At that seat, Labor hung on despite a massive loss in its primary vote. Its primary vote at that by-election that was held on the 29th of February, Chris, dropped from 51% at the 2016 election to just 29%. That was despite their candidate being Joel Bowden, the former Richmond footballer, someone with an incredibly high profile. There was a massive swing against Labor and a 12% swing on the two-party preferred. But CLP preferences actually got Labor over the line at that by-election. So that's still going on, that discussion behind the scenes as to whether the Country Liberal Party and Territory Alliance will do a preference deal or whether some other deal will be done between the major parties.
What about the COVID factor? We're seeing that dominate political debate right around the country, right around the world. You've kept pretty much COVID-free in the Territory. Michael Gunner's imposed all sorts of travel bans like other states. Has that strengthened his position? Have people been supportive of his handling of this crisis?
Well, Michael Gunner has said really from the outset of this coronavirus crisis, Chris, that his approach has all about saving lives and saving jobs. I think the job that he may have saved above all others could be his own. That Johnston by-election on the 29th of February happened just before the coronavirus crisis was hitting home here. It was just a couple of weeks after that by-election that we saw those widespread lockdowns. At the time of the Johnston by-election, I would have said that Michael Gunner would have been no hope of winning the election, Michael Gunner and Labor, but his handling of the coronavirus has been widely applauded. He shut the borders down early, and really I think most people would say that Michael Gunner has done a pretty good job of handling the response to the pandemic. The question now is whether that's going to be enough to save his skin. It was interesting to see the poll results come out of Queensland recently, where Queenslanders were widely full of praise for Anastasia Palaszczuk's handling of the coronavirus crisis, yet they were still expecting large swings against the Labor government. It's hard to poll up here in the Northern Territory, as you know, but it'll be interesting to see how that factor plays out on election.
Yeah, indeed, and that'll be one of the national messages out of it, just whether that handling of the coronavirus just does translate into votes. Thanks for joining us, Matt. Always good to talk.